This is Behind the Mic with Brad Dalius.
Behind the Mic is live from Patrick Malloy's down by the pier in Hermosa Beach on this Tuesday night, May the 1st, 2018. Brad Dalius and Keith Jackson on BehindTheMicShow.com and on the Behind the Mic app. Well, you know, we told you for the last couple of weeks that it's early in the season. We told you that it's only been a small sample size of games, and we told you that the Dodgers would get through this first month of the season in April. But Keith, as we sit here tonight on May the 1st, after the big news comes down yesterday that your shortstop Corey Seager with a UCL sprain is going to be done for the remainder of the season. It's going to require Tommy John surgery. He'll get it on Friday. With all that news coming down, I'm officially saying tonight, as a Dodgers fan, it's time to push that panic button, Keith. I didn't want to do it not this early in the season, but with all the injuries they've had, Puig going down in the DL recently. We've known about Turner, although he's coming back soon. The lack of run support sometimes for some of these guys in the starting rotation. The lack of depth behind Kershaw. It's time to push the panic button.
Well, there's definitely some concern, real concern, for the simple fact that you got a lot of guys that are injured and out. And is it time to push the panic button? I think it's... What it is, I think it's time to make some serious, adjustments. I don't think it, in terms of panicking, I don't know. I mean, look, instead of going forward, they're going backwards. I mean, they're now sitting almost at the bottom again of the West.
8 games back heading into today's action of the Diamondbacks.
And what you don't want is a situation where you're so deep in the hole that when you start to make a run that you can't really get up in front of it and you can't get there, you know. So I think they do that and make some big changes immediately. And I mean, look what we said. He said, you know, on paper, yes, great, but injuries are going to occur, things are going to happen, and this is a big loss for the Dodgers, and they're going backwards. So I mean, the only thing you can hope for is that guys step up. But I mean, yes, I think some trades will probably be made. But I really anything was those trades were being made. Are they going to make I think if you get yourself too deep in the hole, it's going to be hard to dig out.
Eric Steven, contributor from SB Nation's True Blue LA, is going to join us at 7:10. Great show for you tonight. Just past 7:30 this evening, we're going to talk with Jesse Granger. He's a sports writer for the Las Vegas Sun. How about those Golden Knights? Up 2 games to 1. Big OT victory last night. Marc-Andre Fleury with a couple of big saves. We'll talk about it with Jesse just past 7:30 this evening. And then during the second hour at 8 o'clock, we'll get into the NBA playoffs. The latest, you've got Toronto taking on Cleveland, Game 1 of the conference semis. Toronto's look good, but as we know, LeBron and company have the ability to come back at any moment. We'll get your thoughts, Keith, on last night's Game 1 between Philly and Boston. I have some thoughts myself.
Oh, yes.
And obviously Game 2 coming up tonight, Golden State hosting New Orleans. And if it's any indication of what we saw in Game 1, Golden State may very well be going up 2-0 by tonight's end. And also, Antonio Gates. The Los Angeles Chargers kind of made it official during the draft at the end of last weekend that they're not going to bring back Gates. Although he's not looking to retire, he's looking to come back and play again in 2018. Where will Gates land? Who are some good teams that maybe would be a good spot for the veteran tight end? We can get into it during tonight's show. Once again, BehindTheMicShow.com and the Behind the Mic app are the ways to listen to tonight's program. It is Taco Tuesday here at Patrick Malloy's in Hermosa Beach. Keith and I have already dove into some of these delicious tacos they've got. Between the chicken, fish, carnitas, you can mix and match.
Yes.
Don't forget, half off all tequilas on Tuesday nights. And $20 for Corona or Pacifico buckets. So always some great deals on Tuesdays here at Patrick Malloy's.
Great foods at Patrick Malloy's, for sure. Those tacos are great. How about those? Did you enjoy them?
Phenomenal. They are really good. Like I was telling you before tonight's show off the air, there's not many places that are better than here, honestly. Honestly, that's an honest assessment.
The fish taco, but the fish taco blackened is great. And on top of that, with like their sauce that they have in there, oh man, it's so good. I love it.
I usually don't go for fish tacos, generally speaking.
It's great.
But I might have to make an exception here.
You got to make an exception.
At Patrick Malloy's.
Got to make an exception.
So what are the positives right now about the Dodgers? If we look into the season here, a month through, 12-16 I mentioned before, 8 games back of the D-backs who just been playing great baseball. Great baseball. It's been frustrating to watch from a Dodgers fan, but if you're a Diamondbacks fan, they have really come on strong here at the beginning of the season. Dodgers fall last night in Arizona. They've opened up this 4-game set. We can talk about that in just a couple of minutes here with Eric. But really, Keith, they're going to have to find a way to get by, obviously. And there's still a lot of talent on this team outside of Corey Seager.
Yeah.
Cody Bellinger needs to get going. I mean, how about him? He gets benched in San Francisco over the weekend. Roberts benches him because he wasn't hustling enough. And it just another one of those things that just did not go right for this team during the first month of the season. But they need guys like him to continue to step up. Yasmani Grandal behind the plate. He's played well. I think they're going to need him to take his game to even another level here in May to make up for the absence of guys like Seager and Turner and Puig.
You know what? Honestly, it comes down to the fact that we were talking about earlier this year about the Dodgers and trading Matt Kemp. And now that comes into play in terms of do you trade him or not, because you really can't afford it at this moment in time to just give him up, especially he's really one of the key components right now with everybody injuring that's really trying to keep your team competing at least.
Oh, I think it changes the dynamic completely.
Yeah.
Completely. And they're going to have to get creative here, the front office. I think they will. There's a couple of things that they could do. At first, it looks like Chris Taylor is going to move in from center field, take over at shortstop, at least on somewhat of a regular basis. That's what they'll start with. There are other options out there, including one Manny Machado, which we'll ask Eric about here in just a couple of minutes. Do they go after Manny Machado? This is a guy who, in the offseason, Keith, they were one of 9 teams who tried to heavily pursue him. He's going to be a free agent after this season. He's owed a lot of different money.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It could be a route that they choose to go down. There are some other guys as well. We'll just have to see what they decide to do ultimately. Mm-hmm. But again, obviously, entering the second month of the season, they got an uphill battle, to say the least. Let's bring in Eric Steven now. He's a contributor for SB Nation's True Blue LA. Eric, we appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for coming on the show. Right off the bat, what were your initial thoughts? What were you thinking when you first heard the news yesterday that Corey Seager would be out for the remainder of 2018? He would not play another game this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of sticker shock. I mean, you first see the news come out, but then you sort of realize, well, of course he's been dealing with, elbow stuff since about last August, and I guess it's hard to say this was inevitable, but like I guess I got to the point where I didn't expect it to be like Tommy John surgery. That's obviously something you usually hear with pitchers. I know position players have it, but it was sort of a stunning sort of turn of events, especially since he was. It's not like he was hurt recently. Like he was playing over the weekend, and it'd be one thing if it was like he had a flare up or something and went on the DL. But yeah, this was sort of sudden, so that was sort of the shocking part of it.
Hey Eric, I want to know: is it panic time for Dodger fans out here, or for the Dodgers in general? Is it panic time in terms of do they need to trade someone immediately to get back and start really like competing? And does it change things for like Matt Kemp in general? Like, he's been playing well. And does it change a lot of things in terms of do they continue to use? Do they trade him up or do they keep him?
So we lost Eric there momentarily. We'll get him back in just a second. But I think it's a good question, Keith, obviously, where they're at right now and what do they need to do. I think Eric's back now. And basically, Erica, just to kind of reiterate Keith's question here, is it panic mode for this team? I think it is, in the sense of everything that's gone wrong in the first month of the season, considering how far back they are. 8 games as we start today's action in the National League West. The front office knows they're going to have to make some moves now. So from that perspective, there's a sense of urgency. So to me, that would kind of correlate with panic mode. Your thoughts?
I think, I don't. Maybe panic's not the right word. There's definitely reason to worry. If you just look at it today, realistically, they're probably not going to win the division. They're down 8 games. I know it's super early, but look. Even if you go off the preseason projections and the Dodgers play as well as they were supposed to, 8 games is a lot to make up, even over 5 months. They're kind of in scramble mode right now. I don't know. I mean, certainly they're going to probably look to upgrade. The big name everyone throws around is Manny Machado. That doesn't seem realistic to me, especially since he's going to be a free agent. I don't know if they're going to want to, give up the prospects, and also they have a bit of a limit, the self-imposed limit, trying to stay under the luxury tax threshold. So I don't know if they can even fit him in without sort of hurting other areas, because they're going to want to improve other areas too, like the bullpen, etc. So it's maybe not panic mode, but it's definitely reason for concern and worry. Maybe more panic from a fan standpoint than the front office at this point.
And I agree with you, Eric. I would love to see them go out and get a guy like Manny Machado. Again, though, they have to get around the luxury tax. It doesn't seem likely. Seems like that would be the long shot. How about some other guys, though, more realistic guys to replace at this point, Corey Seager? A guy like Marcus Semien from Oakland, or maybe an Eduardo Nunez from the Boston Red Sox. These are 2 guys they could get a little bit cheaper than Machado. What are your thoughts on those guys? Either a guy like Marcus Semien, like I said, or Eduardo Nunez. Do you see one of those being a realistic opportunity to come to the Dodgers?
I haven't really thought much about Semien. It's probably a good idea. I don't know his contract situation. I assume he has a couple more years of control. I know Nunez would probably be a more realistic fit, and just in terms of more of a veteran that you can he doesn't have a long-term contract. He's pretty easy to fit under the cap, and look, they're going to probably mix a lot of Chris Taylor in at short, so they're not going to, someone like that, he's probably not going to come in and play every day. So maybe it's just someone who strengthens the overall depth, because that's been tested. They're starting Max Muncy and Kyle Farmer at third every night now. What they really need is to get Justin Turner back, and that's probably going to happen at some point in the next few weeks, but it's still going to be a while. But yeah, they're just hurting all over. So in terms of who they're going to get, I really know they have the flexibility. Maybe it's getting an outfielder, as strange as that sounds. If Chris Taylor sticks it short, maybe they try to go upgrade and get an outfielder and plug the gap that way. But honestly, it's kind of wide open at this point. They're just hurting. They need something, and it's just a matter of who they go out and get.
Well, and you look at their schedule, Eric. You look at it. They got Arizona tonight. Then they play them again Wednesday. They play against them on Thursday. And then they go and they got to go to San Diego. And then after coming to San Diego, they come back to play Arizona. Could they possibly, let's just say hypothetically, let's say they win, let's say 3 out of those games. Did he end up get disconnecting again? Okay. Well, my question is basically, let's just have him come back in. Hello? He's there. So Eric, with those games that they're going to play, they got Arizona tonight, and they play them again Wednesday and Thursday, and then they got the San Diego games coming up. If you look at it, if they run the table against the San Diego teams the next 3 games, that can possibly help them. And in general, going back to playing Arizona, so, it's kind of panic mode, but again, it's hey, we're still in this thing, So if you look at the positives in the way, you come back, San Diego's sitting at the bottom of the division. So that can possibly be some wins, but they have to win those.
They do, I agree. And our apologies, we've lost Eric again, having some trouble with his cell. We'll try and get him back up here in just a second. But I agree. This is where I thought, though, they could springboard themselves a couple weeks ago, Keith, when they swept San Diego, took 2 out of 3 from the Nationals during a weekend series, and they couldn't get it going on a consistent basis. And that is because they haven't been able to swing the bat good enough at the plate. That's been a big problem, and obviously the injuries go hand in hand with it. I don't want to make excuses for them because there is a lot of talent on this team. But again, when you're missing your best hitter in Turner, when Yasiel Puig goes down here with an injury, and now when you have one of your best players down, it's going to be very difficult to generate any kind of consistent success. I originally thought when they had Seager in there, they would need to add another bat just to get more consistent. So they are at a point where this is going to be very, very tricky. I think Roberts has his work cut out for him, and they just need help in a lot of places. That's the main problem with this team right now. If I could really underscore it, would be that they need help in the bullpen, in the rotation, and in the lineup as well. As far as the lineup goes, we talked about it there with Eric a little bit. Manny Machado, I would love to see him in blue. It's going to be too much money, more likely, and we know the Dodgers want to stay under the luxury tax. They would have to get really, really tricky and really get creative if they would want to bring in Machado. Not to mention that Baltimore would probably ask for a big package of prospects. You'd probably have to give up Walker Buehler, who they just broke in here, a couple of starts to begin this 2018 season. So I don't know if they're going to be willing to part ways with him. That's why I think it makes more sense, like an Eduardo Nunez from Boston. Boston, they're still trying to get Dustin Pedroia back from his knee injury. So potentially they would be willing to part ways with Nunez here soon once Pedroia comes back. Marcus Semien, though, he actually may be the best guy you could get shortstop from the Oakland Athletics at this point in time. A guy who kind of is flying under the radar. It would be a good fill-in for them, especially if they want to get him on, on the cheap, sort of say.
And let me ask you this: and what is probably the most critical or crucial place they need to focus on first? Because there's so many areas that, yes, they need to improve in, but what's the most important part? Like, they're not going to be able to get fill all those components out this whole season.
Right, not at once, at least.
But what is the main one that you feel like is the main?
Oh man, I think they got to get a bat. They got to get a bat. I think that's where it starts because we all know pitching wins in October eventually. But to get there, you got to have the hitting to go with it, So I think they've got to get a bat, especially with Seager down now. You've got to go out and get somebody, and if they can bring him in, you can't have Chris Taylor starting every single day at shortstop now. I know that's what Robert says they're going to do, at least to begin with here, but that's got to be a short-term solution, and then going forward, they're just going to have to get somebody more so long-term. So again, I think it's the bat. You get someone who can play shortstop on a daily basis, and then you go after the rotation. And then you go back into the conversation of, okay, is Matt Kemp, is he continuing to swing a hot bat? Can we maybe trade him for somebody to get in the rotation at some point? Because they're going to need that guy if they're still going to compete and go far in the playoffs ultimately. And then I guess lastly would be the bullpen. That I would go lineup, rotation, bullpen at this point. Those are the big three. I mean, you just look. It's an improved division too out here as we're seeing in the first month of the season.
It's definitely stronger, and when you're starting to see what really shocked me was, let me tell you, to me it wasn't. I didn't think they were in trouble. I knew they were in trouble when they lost to Miami Marlins. When they lost to the Miami Marlins, when they lost to them, that was, and they got swept. Like that was the down point for me. It was like, uh-oh. And then they went on the road. I said it. I said they're going to go on the road. They're going to play the Giants, and that's going to be very tough for them. After losing those straight, that's when it started to be concerning. It was just like, dude, you got blown out. You can't win one game in Miami, like against Miami. That's like they lost everyone.
Oh, that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing. And then San Francisco, the frustrating thing is if you're a Dodgers fan, you look at that 4-game set. They had the day-night doubleheader on Saturday this past weekend. They split it. They put up 15 runs in Game 1. And then in Game 2, they lose, and they're just not consistent. That's the biggest thing, and it's frustrating to split in that 4-game set against a Giants team that you're projected to be better than. Also a team who had a lot of injuries themselves coming into the year. It's somewhat ironic now that the Dodgers have almost surpassed them with injuries at this point, when it was perceived coming into the season that the Giants had more injuries than they knew what to do with, sort of say.
The month of May is very important for the Dodgers, to be honest.
Absolutely.
They really have to have more wins than losses in the month of May. And they're capable of doing it, but they're playing different teams. If you look at it, they've been playing San Francisco, Arizona, played the Oakland Studios twice, but they played Arizona. But then that's in their league. They play all those guys in their leagues. Then they're going to step out a little bit, and they're going to play Cincinnati. Then they got to go to Washington. They got to go back to Miami, and so for hopefully, those type of games right there they can put together. But that month of May is very important if they're going to really make a run at this. 8 games, yeah, it's a lot, but it's still reachable to do. And if you look at their standings, against the other, they're 8 games out of first place, right? They want to They want to at least, I think, in the month of May, they want to at least climb back into being in at least third place, third, right there, close to second against the Giants, and that's what you're looking at, because I think the Arizona Diamondbacks is just rolling. They're just winning. They're killing it. They're 10-3 at home, and they're 10-5 away. That's a solid team right there when you look at that. So
there's almost a swagger to this team now, where they come out and they expect to win.
Dude,
it's been at least it's against the
back to the
Dodgers.
Randy Johnson area. That's what it feels like with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, turning back the clocks.
Yeah, if you turn back the clock, it looks like Randy Johnson out there again. That's when they were really tough. They couldn't be beat, and that's how they feel. That's what it feels like. This is a team we did not even think would be at the top of the division.
Not yet. Not in 2018. Not at this high level of competing. Not with an 8-game lead in the division over the Dodgers specifically. Among other teams, they have a lead in the division currently over. Not this early. But there's talent there. There is talent, and it has started to blossom. Paul Goldschmidt's been there now for a long time. He continues to swing a hot bat. They have a young core. And Zach Greinke is pitching well. So they have guys who are fitting into this mold that they've created with the Diamondbacks, and it's paying dividends here within the first month of the season. On the flip side, you have the Los Angeles Angels, who, if there was one thing I learned over the weekend, Keith, in Major League Baseball, specifically with our teams here in LA, is that the Angels are not ready for prime time. They are not ready for prime time.
I told you that.
They got swept away by the New York Yankees.
Yep.
It wasn't even competitive, especially on Saturday, the middle game when they lost 11-1. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even close. They were toying with them. Absolutely toying with them. A couple of one-run games here to begin the series and end the series on Sunday Night Baseball, but in reality, those games weren't even as close as the score indicated.
Ohtani sprains his ankle.
It's interesting I don't want to hate on Ohtani, when guys get injured, I don't want to hate too much on guys when they go down with injuries, but it is fascinating sometimes how certain guys tend to go down during certain parts when teams are losing, or when they seem like it might just be coincidence. I don't want to hate on him too much. It's his first year in the major leagues, but the timing was bad. I'll put it that way. The timing was not good, and he's going to look to pitch again sometime this week. But unfortunately, and ESPN, they must have just been besides themselves when they found out there was going to be no Ohtani pitching matchup, no Ohtani versus Tanaka, which is what they were really looking for originally on Sunday Night Baseball. They didn't get it. But, just disappointing, obviously, if you're an Angels fan, because we talked about it about a week ago when they came into this long stretch here where they were going to play 3 against Boston at home, 3 on the road against Houston, and then 3 at home against the New York Yankees. The 6 home games, Keith, they go 0 for 6.
Yeah.
They do take 2 out of 3 on the road in Houston, which was impressive. The only loss was to Justin Verlander. That was impressive in itself, but still, 0-6 at home against Boston and the Yankees, not what you were looking for.
No, it wasn't. It's not what you're looking for. But, like we told you before, this was just to see where they stand. They've been playing well against other teams, but those are the top-tier teams. The Yankees, the Boston Red Sox, the Cubs are up there right now. There's a lot of teams up there. Those are the top-tier teams, and the Astros, and you want to just see where you're at. Remember, this team barely, was maybe like a game out or two from making the playoffs. Till now, they're sitting in third place. They're fighting to try to get back up in second. They're 3.5 games back to be in first place in the division, but they're a half game back to take in second. So they're still right there. I think the whole thing is, look, they just want to. The main thing is to try to make the postseason for this team. That's what they want to get for. They're looking for just improvement. But yeah, it was a little hype around and like, wait a minute, maybe they can play with the best of them, and that wasn't the case. So, maybe down the line, it's a long season, as we say, but maybe they can turn around and get that. But what I'm really concerned with is the 4-game losing streak. It's you don't want to get used to losing, and that's my other concern with the Dodgers, is that trying to get a winning streak going and trying to keep it for as long as you can. And so this Angels team is a younger team, and they got a 4-game losing streak, and you want to see them. You don't want them to get used to losing. You want to hopefully they can turn it around and bounce back from it. So we'll see. We'll see how everything kind of folds out with them. But they got some great talent. They got some young talent, and they got the Baltimore Oilers right now. So hopefully they can bounce out of it and start to put some wins together. And they'll get another shot at the Yankees down the line. In the end of May, they got to go down there and play, but they'll get another shot at the Yankees. So, and another shot at Boston. So, in June. So, we'll see.
My biggest concern with the Angels right now has got to be the pitching rotation and the bullpen too.
Yeah.
That the pitching, especially the rotation, has been one of their biggest downfalls in the first month of the season. And guys just got rocked here in the last couple of starts. Tyler Skaggs has pitched well, but he's been inconsistent. Garrett Richards, the team has relied on him a lot. He's had his ups and downs, and we know about the Ohtani injury as well. The bullpen has just been overworked so much, and I worry about that. It's just May 1st, and their bullpen is already gassed, or one would think that they would be getting close to it. So that's something to keep an eye on, especially when they go against teams that have the ability to put up a lot of runs. That, to me, is the true marker. And we saw that against the Yankees, obviously, over the weekend against Boston a week to 10 days ago. That's how really you can gauge this team at this point in time. With the bullpen being gassed, how do they do against teams who can score a lot of different runs? Like you said, Keith, they're playing Baltimore tonight, one of the worst teams in the league. They should be able to take advantage of that. And, again, it's very similar to the Dodgers. If the Dodgers and the Angels are going to be playoff teams in 2018, when you're playing teams like the Marlins, like the Texas Rangers, like the Baltimore Orioles, you've got to win those series.
That's true.
You've got to win those series. If you can't win those series, you're just not a playoff team. Now it's a long season, but you're showing fans a lot at this point by not winning those type of series, or in some cases getting swept by those teams. You got to be able to win those. I don't care how many injuries you have, how tired you are, you have to be able to go out and take care of business. And if you can't do it, look, you can't win a World Series in April or May, but you can sure lose one or lose out on the ability to go to the playoffs ultimately by digging yourself a big hole. Like you said before, you don't want to become a team that gets accustomed to losing. You got to snap those streaks really quick.
Yep.
It's Behind the Mic. We're live here from Patrick Malloy's in Hermosa Beach. Just getting started on this Tuesday evening. We're going to take our first break, and we will come back on the other side. We'll talk with Jesse Granger, sports writer for the Las Vegas Sun, get his thoughts on the red-hot Golden Knights, up 2-1 over the San Jose Sharks, as I continue to try and move on here. And, this incredible expansion year one continues for them. It's going to be fascinating to get Jesse's thoughts on just how excited the city is. We've been able to see it on TV, Keith. Some of the games, especially the pregame, how excited that atmosphere gets inside of T-Mobile Arena in Vegas.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Awesome
Viva
to see,
Las
right?
Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. It's one of the best. To be honest with you, it's one of the best shows. It's like going to a Vegas show at the Bellagio or the Caesar Palace or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like Circus du Soleil or something like that. That's how it is up there. I think in general, I think that's what psyched players out from the beginning. It's that point. It's like you got this big old show going. They're like, okay, can we get to the game now? Then when they get to the game, boom, Golden Knights score right off the bat within like 10 seconds, 20 seconds. It's like, they still thinking about the show that they had. So
Amazing.
It's great to see, though.
Behind the mic, we're coming back for more from Patrick Malloy's after this. Stay tuned.
Every 17 minutes, Make-A-Wish makes the impossible possible. They tame dragons. They bring Saturn to Earth. They help superheroes save entire cities. They even make unicorns fly. All to give children the strength they need to fight their critical illnesses. Every wish takes muscle. Help us make sure every wish comes true. Join us at wish.org.
Our military service members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world. They step up. And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home. Beyond all the hospitals and doctors and surgeries they need just to survive, they also deserve whatever they need to truly live. All the in-home care and day-to-day help they need to live independently, on their own terms. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs were established to provide these brave men and women whatever they need to continue their fight for independence, at no cost, for life. So many of them need us, and it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Find out how you can do your part at findwwp.org.
Everybody buckle up. Mom. Buckle up.
Let's go.
Buckle up.
Can we go to the store? Mom, can we
Buckle
get
up.
some ice cream?
Everybody, buckle up.
A lot goes on in the car, but you're in control. So only move when you hear the click that says they're buckled in. Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick, and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council. Everybody buckle up.
Mom.
Buckle up.
Let's go.
Buckle up.
Can we go to the store? Mom,
buckle
can we get
up.
some ice cream?
Everybody, buckle up.
A lot goes on in the car, but you're in control. So only move when you hear the click that says they're buckled in. Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is Behind the Mic with Brad Dalius.
Welcome back to Behind the Mic, live inside Patrick Malloy's down here by the pier in Hermosa Beach. Brad Dallas and Keith Jackson with you. We're going to switch gears now and talk a little NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Once again, the Golden Knights, they come up victorious last night in overtime over the San Jose Sharks. They're now up 2-1. As we now bring in Jesse Granger. He's a sports writer for the Las Vegas Sun. Jesse, we appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for coming on the program. Hey, right off the bat, how much fun, Jesse, is the city having with this team?
How are they able to score the way they've been scoring? I mean, it's just been really impressive to watch and see. And it's just, I want to know, like, how come it's been so easy for this team to score compared to other teams? Which is really interesting to me.
Well, it is, and this is a team, hopefully we get Jesse back here in just a second, sure. But they're a team who all year they've tried to mix and match different players, and I think we've got Jesse back with us now here on
Jesse.
Behind the Mic. And Jesse, just to kind of reiterate Keith's question, go ahead, Keith, actually.
Jesse, when you look at this team, did they end up hanging up again?
It's not our night so far, Keith,
know,
man.
Right?
I'm telling you, it is not our night. We're pulling all the stops out here, but unfortunately, we're not able to hold on to our guests here tonight. We're getting great stuff for them off the air and also at the beginning, but once again, we'll try and get Jesse back here. But like I was saying before, they're a team all season long that has tried to, obviously they had the expansion draft at the beginning of the season, and they tried to mix and match all these players from around the league. They brought them together. No big superstars on the team, I may add. No superstars, but they've played collectively good hockey. Although you can make the case that William Karlsson, who had the game winner last night, has stepped up as a superstar for this team. He has played phenomenal down the stretch of the regular season, into the postseason. Obviously, they swept the Kings, as we know, and they've had a really good start to this series here against San Jose, but Karlsson has really stood up, and like I said before a couple weeks ago, and I've been beating the drum on this, we know in football it's the quarterback, right?
Yep.
In baseball, pitching wins in October, and in hockey, we know that a solid goaltender can take a team to the promised land. So honestly, I think it's fair to say that the best decision this franchise has made in year one was getting Marc-Andre Fleury in the expansion draft. You got to have we all know that to have a deep run in hockey, you got to have the goaltender who maybe he's not always going to be phenomenal in each outing, but he's got the ability to stay on his head more times than not and shut down the opposing team, and that's what you've got with him. And they knew that the second they got him. I guarantee you that's why they honed in on him in the expansion draft.
But you know what? Also, I mean, not to knock the goalie. The goalie is fantastic, yes. They're like the quarterback in football. They're like the point guard in basketball, you know. But one thing about this team, what I like about this team is the way they play. Like they play, and their offense is so aggressive that it's hard to stop. And that's what it seems like. When you're putting up four points in a hockey game, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that Arsenal, okay, that has nothing to do with the goalie getting out there and actually scoring. You know, that happens to do with the fact that your arsenal is prolific, which there is for them. So that's my whole thing. It's looking at them, and I'm just like, wow, it's impressive to see.
You know, game one, 7-0. They blow them out, and obviously at that point you thought, well, here we go again. Just like we saw in the first round against the Kings, they have the ability to maybe there's another sweep in the works. But San Jose, you got to give them credit. They come back in game 2, and in an overtime thriller, they're able to squeeze out a victory. And then what's not being talked about, obviously, is also the fact that the Knights have surrendered 2-goal leads in these previous last 2 games. But fortunately for them, they've had the ability to overcome that and continue to press on forward. There's countless examples across sports where you have a young nucleus of a team or a team who's just together for the first time, the first year, where if they give up a couple goals of a lead, a couple of runs in baseball, and they blow a game, sometimes that can kind of mess with your psyche.
Yeah.
I think you got to give the Knights credit, though, for blowing it in 2 games. They lose in game 2 after blowing a 2-goal lead. They lose in overtime, like I said. And then last night, they were up 3-1. They had a spurt there. That's unbelievable how they've had these spurts where they've been able to get 1, 2, 3 goals in a matter of just a few minutes.
That's what I'm saying.
It's crazy.
That's just...
It is unbelievable.
That's my whole thing about... Like, honestly... People who are not hockey fans, they will turn them into a hockey fan because you'll want to watch them. It's like, honestly, it's like watching a video, like you watching someone play a video game out there, like a hockey video game or something.
Yeah.
Because they score so easy. And they're like this, they have this arsenal where they can score when they want to score. It's one of those things where when you watch them, they're like the Golden State Warriors in NBA. They'll just toy with you, and then when it's time to like put the nail in the coffin, they're definitely gonna put that nail in the coffin, and that's how they play. And honestly, I think looking at it, teams who play them, I'm gonna be honest with you, you got to be up maybe 2 goals or 3 goals playing against them, and I'm talking about 2 or 3 goals in the last half, like in the third quarter or something.
You better believe it.
If you're gonna win, that's what you're gonna have to be. If it's a dragged out game, they're gonna beat you. So, and I'm gonna say this. I'm calling it out. I'm saying what I'm saying here. Like I'm calling it out right now. They're gonna beat if Pittsburgh makes it and they play Pittsburgh.
Oh, I hope so.
They're gonna beat Pittsburgh.
I hope it's Vegas Pittsburgh in the final. I've been hyping it up a little bit before the last couple of shows here during the past few weeks. Marc-Andre Fleury versus his former team. You've got Murray, the goaltender for the Penguins, going up against his former teammate in Fleury. That would be must-watch TV. Not to mention you have the ultimate star in Sidney Crosby and the ultimate sidekick / Scottie Pippen in Malkin going up against the ultimate team where you have these guys, like we've been talking about here, a collective bunch that have just played good, consistent hockey together all year long. That would be a great matchup.
Yeah.
A great matchup for the NHL. And you have to look at some of the other teams, obviously, who, if the Knights are able to get past the Sharks, they could face either Nashville or Winnipeg, which is a great series going on right now in the West, in the conference semis. So that would be great if it's either Vegas going up against Nashville or the Jets. And then in the East right now, obviously, if Pittsburgh is going to make it to the finals, that will have meant that they're going to beat Washington again. And we've seen that series so many times. Pittsburgh, Washington.
It's going to be a tough. That's tough.
It is. Yeah, the Caps just can't get out of their own way.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, they have not been able to get to the conference finals in the East for quite a long time. So there's a lot of different scenarios that could play out. But right now, though, I don't know how you could pick against Vegas. Just the way that they get certain breaks and how they almost create their own luck.
Yeah.
In a sense, right? Because luck can only take you so far.
It can, but for me, you got to be a really good defensive team to beat this team. You can't be offensively. You can't match offense with this team. And I think that's the mistake that a lot of teams are making with them. I think that's the reason San Jose beat them in Game 2. Was Game 2, right? That's when they beat them in Game 2.
Yeah, yep.
Was because they played a defensive game and not an offensive game. And that's how you got to go about when you play this team. Is you got to play a defensive game and hopefully to hold them off. And it cannot be with just the goalie stopping. I mean, it's got to be with defensive players. It's like a whole effort. It's got to be complete effort.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way you're able to put it over the top. But again, I'm just blown away by a team with this type of moxie for an expansion team in year one.
Yeah.
Again, it's been the thought on all of our minds, but it can't be stated enough how impressive it's been. Of course, at this point, riding a 2-1 series lead in the Western Conference semis. Our apologies again, not able to get Jesse Granger from the Las Vegas Sun. Hopefully we can get Jesse at maybe a later point in these playoffs, because I know he's got a lot of great thoughts, and he covers this team on a regular basis. We got him at the very beginning there. Obviously, we heard his thoughts about this city of Las Vegas and what the Knights have meant to them, and it's just been great. I can't be happier for it. Yeah. You know me, I'm all in favor of the Raiders going to Vegas in just a couple of years. I can't wait to see it. I'm so glad they got their first professional franchise this year. It's somewhat of a prelude to when you get football in just a few years, so I can't be happier for the city there and all the excitement. There's always been excitement in Vegas.
Yeah.
But now we bring some sports excitement, and it's been great. And obviously the locals there love it. Some people we know as well are thoroughly enjoying this Knights run.
Yes.
At this point in time, too.
It's great to watch and see, and I'm really becoming like a fan of. I mean, hate to say it, but I am. I'm becoming a fan of watching how they play, you know. You sit there and watch them now. You're like, man, I just want to see the goals they're scoring. That's how you make fans. You win games to make fans. That's how it works. How they got the city behind them? Come on, did the city really think that they were going to go this far? No, but now they feel like, look, we got a shot to win the Stanley Cup championship. Why not? You know, and they got the whole city and more people behind them, which is great to see.
It's awesome stuff. By the way, if you want to weigh in tonight, 213-261-7491. 213-261-7491. Let's talk a little NBA playoffs now. You got Cleveland and Toronto battling out. 1-point Cavs lead. They're in overtime. Just under 15 seconds to go. We'll keep tabs on that one. New Orleans and Golden State have officially tipped off up in Oakland. 14-11, the Pelicans with an early 3-point edge over the Warriors. I'm thinking that will change, though, as time goes on here. Yes. I want to get your thoughts, Keith. Let's go back to last night quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Boston-Philly Game 1. Let's face it, Philly was and still is huge favorites in this series. Vegas had them you would think this is a 10-year veteran crew with the Sixers, the way Vegas was just loving them going into the series. And I still like them, as many people do, to win this series, but I think everyone is almost on the same page with this today. You got to love what you saw from Boston last night.
Yeah, well, let me show. Honestly, this is the thing. When you have a team that's running a system and running execution, it doesn't matter what type of superstars or players they have in there. Look at the player. They had Jaylen Brown go down. He wasn't playing.
Yeah.
You have Gordon Hayward's not playing. You got Kyrie Irving's not playing. You see the emergence of Terry Rozier. And what are you seeing here is a team that's running an offense, and they're running it to the T, and they don't have any like 1 or 2 players that are like spectacular players that can give you 20 plus or 30 plus a game. So they're dependent on their system. They're executing their part in the offense, and they're playing knowing their roles on the defensive end. And that's why they're winning. And that's why they won. It's the system that they run, and they execute their system. And that's the emergence of great Bradley Stevenson, how great of a coach he is. And then you look over at the other end, and I just think Philadelphia just wasn't, yes, they're talented, but this is the main stage now. You're on a bigger stage now, and what you saw was a first time you saw a Ben Simmons that looked like basically a guy who was just put on ice or put on the island by himself.
Really,
if you notice, what they did throughout the game is every person he switched on, they went at him. They made him play defense, and they said, look, he's a big, tall player, but he can't stay with the short guards, and he's tall, he's skinny, and he's not strong. So when Al Horford got the ball on the block, he went at him because he's too frail. He's skinny. So that is the mismatch they're looking for, and that's what they're attacking. And there was really no adjustment that was made from the coach over at Philly. One mistake I would have really corrected when they were doing, I thought Philadelphia was doing wrong in this game, was that they were doing a lot of pick and pop with Joel Embiid. I don't know why Joel Embiid was, soon he comes off the screen, he is rolling out to the wing. He was doing pretty much what Karl Towns was doing over there at Timberwolves. in that series. Wide much jump shots. Nobody can stop you on the floor. In the second half, he started to get his tail on the block. He started to get the ball there. He started to get some buckets there that way. And hopefully in the next game, they can go back and do more of that. That's what's going to really slow the game down, but not a pick and pop, but a pick and roll to the basket. And look, it goes back to old school ball. You got to get what's really getting you there. Joel Embiid, he's not a 3-point threat. He's great. He's got great footwork. He's a Olajuwon type, 15 feet and down low end. But the great thing about it, he can shoot the three as well. But that's not his strength. And hopefully he gets back to his strength. And hopefully that's what the team gets back to. But hey, if I'm gonna say this, what you're seeing is Boston's gonna have some decision making to make at the end of the season. Because Terry Rozier is playing himself into a contract where he needs to be starting. And there's probably not going to be enough room for him and Kyrie Irving. So they're going to have to figure something out. I mean, that's the type of player this kid's playing into.
The Cavs had defeated the Raptors 113-112 in Game 1. LeBron and company up 1-0. Not very surprising to Keith Jackson.
I told you. There are not I'm not a believer in the Toronto Raptors. Sorry. Not a believer in them. They are the same team they were last year. And this is something they can't get over the hump. And that's going to be a needle in the coffin. That's going to be a thing that's going to be the thorn in them. If they don't and I'm going to tell you, it's no excuse. There's no excuse. You're the number 1 seed this year. Dwayne Casey, you're playing the Cleveland Cavaliers, who's beat you every single time. Kyrie Irving, DeMar DeRozan, Serge Ibaka, those guys need to step up, and this series should be sold. They don't have the same team they had last year. You're going to tell me you're going to have one guy, LeBron James, beat the whole team?
Yes.
That's just ridiculous to me.
Yes.
That they can't get past it. Look, to me, they lose this game, they lose their respect. Bottom line, they lose this series, they lose their respect. Because this is their golden opportunity to make it, and they can't make it.
Oh, we've been saying it all year long. It's right there.
Drake's going to jump on the bandwagon and go to be a Cleveland Cavalier. Watch.
It's right there for the taking for Toronto. We've been talking about it now for weeks. The path to their NBA Finals. It's there for the taking for Toronto. But again, LeBron James. There really is something to a player being in a team's head. And it would be different if it was a different cast of characters for Toronto, but considering it's basically all the same guys from the previous couple of years when they lost to LeBron, it's the same guy. And we saw during the regular season, Cleveland came up big in spots and was able to defeat Toronto, very similar to tonight's game as well. Again, there's just something there. Toronto cannot get over the hump. It's very tough. I mean, it's just Game 1. We've seen series turn around after Game 1, but when a team is in your head and when they continue to beat you, even by the slimmest of margins, Keith, man, it's tough to shake that sometimes. Yeah. That's exactly what's going on right now with the Raptors. Once again, you got to give Cleveland credit. This is a very, very average Cavaliers team.
It is.
Super average.
It's average. LeBron James playing the whole game, probably getting a minute rest in the game, and it's just like, wow. Like, you're seeing, like, a LeBron James really take it to another level.
26 points for LeBron tonight. It's impressive. How many minutes did he play? 47 minutes.
47 minutes, man. 47 minutes, which is, it's wow. I mean,
what does Toronto have to do, though? That's the thing. Like,
dude,
we saw this against Indiana.
Defend. You got to make them defend. Number one, and defending is you have to make. Okay, you know why Golden State beats them? Because they move the ball and they run the guys off screen. They make LeBron defend on the other end of the floor. No other team does that. They don't make him defend on the other end. There's a lot of help slide D. There's a lot of standing still, and not enough movement. They have to move. You gotta move and make this guy run. You gotta wear him out. He's not gonna be worn out in the first half. You gotta wear him down to the fourth quarter where he just don't have any more left in the tank. And we've seen it happen in the championship with him playing against Golden State before. He cannot do it all. But on the flip side, he's got guys, they're trying to step up, and they're doing that. So, that's what you got to see when you're looking at it. That's what you're getting right there. You're getting a LeBron James who's doesn't really have to defend. But on the flip side, he's got players that are just like they move in. He got other on the offensive end that's actually going against him, not moving enough.
I mean, I completely agree. And it's interesting because Boston is one of those few teams who does play defense.
Yeah.
And you saw that last night against the Sixers. Even with all the injuries, they're one of the few teams who plays defense. It is just amazing to me how teams don't take it more upon themselves as a point of self-pride to better your team to play better defense overall. It's just amazing to me. It really is. Because we see, that is the winning formula to slowing LeBron, like you just mentioned there. Why more teams don't try and perfect that is a mystery to me. Yeah. Now, going back to Boston and Philadelphia, again, I like the Sixers in this series, but I go back to what Barkley said last night. It's all about the matchups in this series and how those matchups aren't going to change at all. Whether it be the guys you mentioned before, Rozier, Tatum, Horford, they have talent there. Not to mention, can we start saying that Brad Stevens is maybe the best coach in the NBA?
No, you can't say that.
He's getting close.
He's not the best. He's not the best coach in the NBA.
He's up and coming, Keith.
But he's a great coach. He's a great coach. But let's don't think ahead of ourselves. He's not the best in the NBA, but he's a great coach. And he's the future. He's definitely the future of the NBA and the coaching. He's definitely the future. But one thing about him is he's got guys on his team that believe in the system that they're running. They're believing in the offense. They're believing in the defense. And when you do, and the thing is, when you got star players like Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, when you got guys like that to go down, all you got left is your system because those are your leading scorers. And that's what you have to lean on to and get to. And that's what those guys are doing. They're leaning onto that system. Bradley Stevenson, he's kind of leading the way, run X and O's and tell them to trust it. And they've been trusting it, and it's been working for them, even Al Horford's playing better than typically, historically, he's been playing before. He usually folds around this time. So, that's what you're starting to see. They're just executing their part in the offense, man. And that's why they're winning. They're getting wide open shots. They're getting really good defensive plays, getting turnovers, and they're playing together. And you look at their bench, and they're small. Dude, they are not deep.
No.
They are not deep, and that's what you're starting to see. That's why it makes me fed up when you look at somebody like the Raptors who've been sitting around the whole time waiting for the LeBron James. They went to a Game 7, and they come back and beat you on their home floor. That's just so disappointing to me. I'm so disturbed by that.
And talking about the whole conversation of the debate, rest versus unrest, Philly had about a week off. You know me, I've said this before. I'm a firm believer in that rest or any kind of extra rest can only help to benefit a team going forward. I really don't, because again, it comes back to who you're playing and what that team presents, what the coaches can do, the coaching, their ability to make life difficult for opposing players. I just don't buy into that because of the long rest can turn into rust. I don't believe in that. I just don't believe that because a team that a good solid team that is consistent playing basketball or any sport for that matter, and on a regular basis they continue to ply their craft. I just don't believe in that. I really don't. To me, because look at it this way. Take the example of Golden State. If Golden State has a week off, they're still crushing New Orleans like they did in Game 1.
Well, they ain't crushing them right now.
They're not crushing them right now.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean? That's how I just compare it to something like that. A team like Golden State, they're not going to let rest turn into rust.
Yeah, what you're seeing here is it's not that. It's just that teams are not focused, and certain teams got to come in focused in a sense of purpose.
And I get that. Philly's young. They're a young team, obviously.
They're young, but they been kind of buying into that whole hype and things like that. That's been the media, things like that.
That's fair to say.
That's what they've been doing. Meek Mill coming back, all this stuff. Their city's all happy. But I don't know. We'll see what type of team comes out tomorrow and how they play tomorrow. Because if they don't come back focused tomorrow and they lose, then they're in trouble.
I agree.
They're going to be in some trouble. So hopefully they'll be able to bounce back. And then, like you said, you're starting to see, look, you have J.J. Redick, your leading scorer. He wasn't doing nothing. You know what's interesting? Let me tell you what's interesting. What you're going to see is this. I was talking to someone about this. I think this is the deciding factor for who's going to be the Rookie of the Year. Is it going to be Ben Simmons or is it going to be Donovan Mitchell? Now, the difference between the two is this. Donovan Mitchell, he lost. They got blown out. Well, they get blown out. But he still scored 30-something points again. 30-something points. Where you had Ben Simmons who's totally, like, inept, only had, like, 8 points or... He just was not effective at all.
It was uncharacteristic.
I really do think that's going to be the deciding factor in the Rookie of the Year is this series right here for both of these two players.
I think that's a great point you bring up there, Keith, about, and they're both at the same level right now, like you said, both teams getting blown out, but like you made the point, Mitchell somewhat separates himself by the individual performance. So that's going to be very, very interesting. At this point, I'll still take Donovan Mitchell. I mean, he's just been flat out awesome. In defeat, like we said right there, however you slice it, he has just been flat out awesome for them. I would take him over Simmons at this point. I mean, also, Simmons has a little more to work with. You can make the case Joel Embiid is the best player on both Utah and Philly combined.
Yeah.
So he has a little bit more to work with in that sense, too. Another reason why I would give the nod to Mitchell.
I'm going with Mitchell, too. I mean... despite the fact they're saying, Ben Simmons carried the team the whole year when Joel Embiid's out, Ben Simmons not even the main player. He's not even the main option on the team. And I agree with the definition of a rookie. You played 2 seasons.
To be fair, yeah.
Let's just say what it is. Like you were on the team. Yeah, you didn't play in a game, but you were on the team and you worked out. You're getting a paycheck. You're not a rookie. You know, Donovan Mitchell is a pure rookie. This is his first year getting paycheck money for playing basketball. And it's his first year, and he's been playing a hell of a game, and he's getting mad respect from all-stars. You know?
And that's what it's about. Obviously, garnering that respect from players around the league, and it's true. I mean, to be fair about it, he was injured all of last year, didn't play. And although it's the first time in the court, he's really not a rookie. You know, you can compare it to like a quarterback in football who decides to sit behind a franchise quarterback for like 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and then he starts playing full time. He starts in year 3 or 4, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a rookie." Yeah. Not really. You're not really a rookie. So to be fair about it, when we slice it, he's really not a rookie.
No.
So that's why another reason why, another feather in the cap of Donovan Mitchell for Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year. People out there, I need you to call in. Tell me, who is the Rookie of the Year?
213-261-7491. 213-261-7491. It's been a fun debate to have, obviously.
Yes.
And the two of them have enjoyed doing it, too. Whether it be on social media, in the press conferences, you name it. It's been fun. I want to touch on Golden State and New Orleans. Obviously, the two of them are playing right now in Game 2. As we mentioned before, it's a slim lead at the moment for the Pelicans. They're up by 2 as they come up towards the end of the first quarter. But what happened on Saturday night, Keith, to New Orleans? I mean, what happened? I really thought that from what we saw last round against Portland, granted it was Portland, but they swept them so fast, and how dominant Davis was, that we really would see a competitive series here.
Well, let me tell you.
Not even close.
Klay Thompson is a different guard for Jrue Holiday, where Damian Lillard is a lot smaller than Klay Thompson. And so they're evenly matched. Klay Thompson is a lot faster. I mean, he's not faster, but he's longer. He can shoot the ball consistently. And it's a harder guard for him. He has to run off screen. Let me tell you, this is the problem. This is what people don't understand. Is that the Golden State Warriors, they got shooters. They play speed ball and they move the ball so fast and they run off of screens. You have to defend to play them. You have to know how to running. Do you know how tiring it is to chase a guy who's running off screens all day and getting bumped? That is very tiring. You're not going to have any legs, and when it comes up to shooting and things like that, the ball or driving to the basket, you're going to be exhausted, and that's what you saw. You saw a guy. It's a tough guard for them to guard. These teams will be able to hang with them for a couple quarters, but at the end of the day, they ain't going to be able to last a whole 42 minutes a game playing against them. And that's what you saw. You saw a team. Drew Holiday had 8 points. I'm telling you, he's not going to be this guy. Right now, what does he have going into this game right now? Right now, they're up by 2, right? Now you're starting to see him put her. He has 8 points right now. He's 4 for 10 from the field. He's 0 for 3 from the three-point line. You know why? He's got to play defense. He's tired. Anthony Davis got 6. You know, this is the key right here. I'm going to tell you what the key is for him. Rajon Rondo. Rajon Rondo is the key for this team. Why? He's got 7 points. He's gotten the experience in 7 minutes. But Rajon Rondo's really going to have to be that guy who's going to be putting up about 15 points a game. You're going to need 15 from him, about 20-something points, 15 and like 10, 15 and 11. You'll need about 27, 28 points from Anthony Davis. And then the next person, who is Drew Holiday's got to step up. He's got 8 points right now. Must have just scored in 12 minutes. But he's 0 for 4 from the three-point line. He's got to keep shooting. But the thing is, he's got to defend on the other end. Look who he's guarded. He's guarded Steph Curry, who's out there cooking, and he's got 8 points.
Yeah.
You know, he's sitting the bench right now. Kevin Durant's starting to heat up, and he's got 8. You know, he's got 5. But these guys, you know, any capable time, these guys can start playing and scoring. So I'm sure they're going to limit Steph's minutes and watch what he does. But for the most part, man, Klay Thompson is going to come in. He's going to do his thing. And they can just light you up at any time. And that's the scary thing about this team.
And the frustrating thing is, if you're a Pelicans fan, right now, like we said, it's a 2-point lead for New Orleans end of the first. They are playing probably almost perfect basketball for their standards to get to this point.
Yes.
Golden State's right there.
Absolutely.
They're right there.
Absolutely.
It's got to be we know it's frustrating for the fans, but from a player's perspective, Keith, when you're in this type of predicament, when you're up against an opponent who can explode at any moment, when you have to play your perfect basketball just to get almost equal to them or just a slight lead, and then in the blink of an eye it can all go away, the margin for error is so slim here. That's the frustrating thing here if you're a Pelicans fan. And obviously for any other team who comes up against them in the postseason, this is what you have to deal with. Yeah. And this is with a half Steph Curry, who they're easing him back into it as well.
Well,
it's so difficult.
Steve Curry,
difficult.
They're smart. They're smart in what they're doing in terms of minutes and things like that. And, you know, one thing about the Golden State Warriors is that, you know, they live and die by that three. And if they're not knocking it down, you can see themselves getting blown out and them coming back, you know, those type of things. So, you know, we're just going to see how it all pans out. Right now, I believe, Drew Holiday is starting to play a little bit better than what he was playing. I'm sure they scored again. Well, Warriors is up right now, 34-33, which is like, wow.
There you go.
So, you know, that's a big turnaround right there. But you just got to, you know, they got to keep playing and they got to keep shooting the ball, but they cannot play Warriors ball, and that's pushing the ball up the floor, playing speed ball. You can't do that against this team. You got to slow the game down. And they're not doing that, and that's what's going to hurt them. You know, that's what's going to hurt them when they play with Houston. Houston's going to try to play this speed ball. They play right into their hands.
Speaking of the Rockets, what did you think about Game 1, Houston, Utah? The Jazz get blown out, obviously. Any shot that the Jazz can make this a series?
Yes.
You do. So you still are believing that they could push.
They'll make it a series.
You think they'll make it a series?
They'll make it a series. They may make it. I put it like this, because the Jazz, Golden State Houston has 2 players that are lethal from the three. You know, they got, and I'm gonna just be honest. Chris Paul and James Harden was make the engine goes.
Yep.
You know, Ryan Anderson, Eric Gordon, those guys, they'll roll. They'll get you a few threes. PJ Tucker. You know, they have a great team to play, but the problem is you only really got 2 superstars that really make the engine goes. You stop one of those guys, that's it. And Utah has a complete team. I think the Ricky Rubio kind of hurts them in a way. That situation, I think that really hurts. And it looks like they're probably not going to get it. They're probably not going to see him this series. But Ricky Rubio,
That's a huge blow to them.
That's a really huge blow because that's your assist man. Now you having Donovan Mitchell bring the ball up and trying to score, and you don't want that. You want him to come off the ball, even though he's really a point guard. But still, Ricky Rubio is what makes that go. So, and Exum and those guys, they're just not. They're not Ricky Rubio. They're not that type of player. They're not assists. They're quick guards that get to the basket and score. So it's just a lot of little changes there that really hurts that team. And you're not really getting the complete Utah team that you would want to see go against this Houston Rockets team.
This is our first show. I want to also get your thoughts on the incidents in Utah, especially that last series with OKC with the fans and Westbrook.
Oh, that's nothing, man.
Fans interaction a little bit.
Come on, man.
This is my take on it. I'll go first on this one. And this also goes back to last year in the NFL, Seattle, Jacksonville, a lot of the Jaguars fans heckling a lot of Seattle Seahawks. You're getting paid millions of dollars, and unless there is a physical threat to the players in which they're coming down from the stands, God forbid, or something crazy like that, you gotta push through that criticism. You gotta push through the heckling for how much you're getting paid, and for Westbrook to take a swipe at the fan. I think Westbrook was in the wrong. Yeah. I get they're saying bad things about you from what you're saying. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure they're heckling you to death, but you got to take that, Russ, for how much you're getting paid in the situation that you are in. And for him really to grandstand in the post game, and it's not doing any good. I mean, what does he expect the NBA to do? I mean, really, what are they going to? They're going to eject the fans for saying things? Come on, that's not going to happen.
He's acting like a huge big baby. That's really what it is. You're a big baby. You sit up there and you talk mess about Ricky Rubio and how you going to lock him up, this and that. Well, he's really not a scorer. He's the assist man. That's what he does. And Ricky Rubio took the high road, never even commented about it, just kept playing and it's not.
Most of that series was mental. Honestly, that's one of the big reasons why OKC lost.
And then on top of that, Russell Westbrook was just totally out of character. Plays where he's taking swiping hits at people because they're, those type of things. With Jay Crowder, and when he had a steal, he took a swipe at him, and then he goes and blames the ref, tosses the ref. I mean, look, and then let me tell you, one of the classist thing I didn't like about this situation, he was mad because he lost. I knew he was going to do something like that. He was mad because they lost, and okay, that's natural. You should be mad, but really, let's look at it. You couldn't even shake the man's hand after the game. Here you got Donovan Mitchell, who looks up to you, talks about you in the media, how he's a great player. He literally chopped you up the whole time in this game, in this series, and you mean to tell me you couldn't give him a congratulations or great series or something? You couldn't acknowledge that? You just take your stuff and leave and walk off the floor? No, you walk because you were embarrassed. You were mad about how you acted. You were mad because the team basically outplayed you guys. And Donovan Mitchell totally outplayed you, and so now your only thing is let me blame it on the fan. You going, that's weak. Let me just turn it and blame it on the fans. You need to get them out of here. Are you serious?
As I said, what are they going to do? What does he realistically expect the league to do?
Like, come on, man. You're not. He's not liked.
You can't. I'm sorry. You can't touch fans. You can't take.
You
cannot touch a fan in that instance, whether it be at halftime, end of the game. Again, whatever they may be saying, you've got to take that. And again, we know, if you want to play the hypothetical, Russ, that if you meet somebody in an alley or on the street, they're probably going to act a little differently towards you, or they're going to walk the other way. But again, that's not the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
So it was a bad look for him, and it's a really bad look because
He's a sore loser.
Well, he's a sore loser, and also when we look at him and the Thunder in the big picture, Keith, he hasn't won now with a lot of different combinations of players.
Yeah.
He hasn't won with Durant. He hasn't won with this trio of himself, Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. And he's just had multiple opportunities with different players, and James Harden as well. hasn't been able to get it done. Again, I think that's a bit of a mark against him.
Yeah.
At this point in time, there's been talent there. It's not always been all of his fault, but it's not a good look when you're complaining and you're coming off the way you are, and the team's also losing.
Yeah.
That's never a good combination for anybody, whether it be players keeping their jobs, coaches keeping their jobs, everybody in the franchise.
Yeah, it's not. You don't want a type of person like that to be the face of your franchise who's acting really like a little kid, to be honest with you. Just call it what it is. And, I just think he needs to – I hope he can change his attitude, because his attitude is really, really bad. It's really messed up. And I get being a competitor. I get being that. Out of all this, man, my whole thing is you couldn't even shake the players' hands after the game.
Honestly, that doesn't bother me as much.
You know why it bothers me? It bothers me because you have a player that looks up to you, and he's a first-year player. You want to give that person some words of encouragement, just the way other players have done it for you, like Kobe has done it for him. I've never seen Kobe walk off the after a game, even though he can be a little. He can be that sometimes, but even walk off a game, even the Boston Celtics when they won the championship, when they played Boston, he still shook their hand. Good job, it's not. There's a thing. You got people looking at you, and you got a player who's up and coming who looks up to you, and you can give that guy a good congratulations or hey, way to go. I've been in your position before, whatever. Keep moving forward. That you couldn't give him that. You've gotten it. You've gotten it from other players. They gave you that. It's supposed to be reciprocated. It's supposed to be passed all the way down. Not this, I'm struck, I'm mad, throw my stuff, and then tantrum, let me blame everything on the fans because we lost. Because reality is, if that hadn't happened, if it was flipped the other way around, Russell went over there and shook those dudes' hand afterwards.
Yeah, they would have won. Oh, no question. No question. I'm all for sportsmanship. I am, and it's very classy when guys shake each other's hands. Sometimes, in the heat of the moment, when you lose a game, if you just want to go right into the locker room, I understand that. If you want to reach out, and there's been instances in other sports where players will go over to the opposing locker room. I'm all for that if they want to mention something in the post game, because I get it. It is the raw emotion of sport, and if you have good intentions, that will ultimately shine through one way or another.
There's no intention there.
There's no intention there in this one. That is obvious. That is clearly obvious. It's Behind the Mic. We're live here from Patrick Malloy's in Hermosa Beach on a Tuesday night. To call in, 213-261-7491, 213-261-7491. On the other side, we'll get into a little NFL talk. We all know by now that Antonio Gates will not be a Los Angeles Charger this season, but who will he play for in 2018? We can talk about. We can also get into the Jason Witten situation as well, and maybe kind of go around a bit and talk about some of the winners and some teams who maybe could have improved themselves a little bit better in the NFL draft last week. Coming back for more after this.
Every 17 minutes, Make-A-Wish makes the impossible possible. They tame dragons. They bring Saturn to Earth. They help superheroes save entire cities. They even make unicorns fly. All to give children the strength they need to fight their critical illnesses. Every wish takes muscle. Help us make sure every wish comes true. Join us at wish.org.
Our military service members volunteer to protect us in the most dangerous places around the world. They step up. And when they are severely ill or injured, returning to their families is only the beginning of their long road home. Beyond all the hospitals and doctors and surgeries they need just to survive, they also deserve whatever they need to truly live. All the in-home care and day-to-day help they need to live independently, on their own terms. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs were established to provide these brave men and women whatever they need to continue their fight for independence, at no cost, for life. So many of them need us, and it's time for a grateful nation to step up. Find out how you can do your part at findwwp.org.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Everybody buckle up.
Mom.
Buckle up.
Let's go.
Buckle up.
Can we go to the store? Mom, can we get some ice cream?
Everybody, buckle up.
A lot goes on in the car, but you're in control. So only move when you hear the click that says they're buckled in. Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is Behind the Mic with Brad Dalius.
Don't forget to download the official Behind the Mic app today on your smartphone. Listen online at BehindTheMicShow.com. And check out our podcast on iHeartRadio. And now also you can check us out on Spotify as well. Brad Dalius and Keith Jackson hanging out here from Patrick Malloy's down by the pier in Hermosa Beach. 48-46. Pelicans with a 2-point cushion over the Warriors at the moment as they approach halftime. We already know that Cleveland defeated Toronto tonight, 113-112 in Game 1. That was the final in overtime. So LeBron and company once again take it to the Raptors, 1-0 in that series. I mentioned before the break, we want to talk now a little bit about the NFL. I want to get into some of the news that's going on across the National Football League. To start with, Antonio Gates, Chargers made it official over the weekend. They're not going to bring him back in 2018. Not a big surprise at this point. Considering his age, how many years he's played in the league, they're going to move on, especially with the emergence of Hunter Henry last year and how well he played for them. The third-year tight end seemingly is going to step into the starter shoes in 2018, and we'll go from there. But as far as Gates goes, more touchdowns than any other tight end in the history of the game. We figure he can at least contribute to a team who's ready to win now this season. A red zone target, obviously, red zone threat. A couple different teams who could use him. One, right off the bat, I think of the Saints. I think that would be interesting if he were to go to New Orleans with Drew Brees.
That'd be good, but I'll give you one even better. Jacksonville Jaguars. They just released Mercedes Lewis. They don't have a big tight end. That's somebody I think they could definitely use. They got Julius Randle over there with them right now. Not Julius Randle. Julius
Thomas.
I
was like, Julius Randle, is he going both ways now? Is he pulling like a Deion Sanders?
But yeah, Julius Thomas, man, he's over there. They had to pick and choose, I guess, who they wanted to go with, and I guess they went with him over Mercedes. Yeah, I think I like that. I like to see him in that. He doesn't have to play as much. You got a young group. You only get a couple snaps. But I would like to see him there. But other than that, man, it's kind of hard to place him somewhere because he is an older guy, and he's like, yes, I'm the best, one of the best one of the best tight ends to ever play the game. This is the era of tight ends just really like at their down ends. You got Jason Witten that left, so they retired. So it's I don't know. You look at Antonio Gates, and I'm just like, I don't know. It's kind of tough to give somebody a contract. He was really on the really down end over there.
He's going to be 38 next month. If anything, it would be on a 1-year deal at one of the minimums. I still think he would have something to contribute in 2018.
But yes, he has to be with a team that
I'd love to see him go for a chance to win.
Yeah, rather than a team to groom a player and stuff, because he's going to want to play, and the grooming player, someone like a younger team like a Kansas City who's trying to groom a team or anything like that, groom a tight end. I get that. I was like thinking of the Patriots that when I was like, no, I really don't need that. I think they need a big receiver. But I don't think they need a bigger tight end on the other end. I mean, that would be great in the red zone, but he just, to me, is not. I would rather see a Mercedes Lewis there, which would be a great addition to the Patriots.
That would be. Well, yeah, New England's a team who could surely benefit from. We talked about them getting some kind of tight end depth behind Gronk. I mean, let's face it, is Gronk going to start all 16 games in 2018? Probably no. They could use more depth.
Yeah, Mercedes.
Yeah, they could definitely. Yeah, we'll see.
It's a very tough.
I know you. You have different connections to Mercedes.
Yes, I talked to Mercedes,
and I imagine he wants to play still.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, Mercedes wants to play still. Last time I did do something with him when I was working over there. I spoke to him about maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and he was actually out there training still. He's still looking for a team possibility, but he's all full in with football still right now and waiting for a team to sign. You know, this is the time teams will bring him to camp and sign. But he's going to go somewhere. He's still fit. He still can do it. You saw what he did with he scored a touchdown against the Patriots.
Yeah, he can still catch.
He can still catch.
He's got that burst too off the line. You know what I mean? He's still got a lot of burst there. I don't think he's lost. I mean, obviously he's not as fast as he used to be 10 years ago, but he's still got a big burst there. I mean, he can absolutely contribute. Probably more so. You can make the case for Lewis than Antonio Gates.
True.
Honestly, you can make the case for him.
Absolutely. But let me ask you this, just on the flip side. Who would you rather have on your team? An Antonio Gates or Mercedes Lewis at this point?
Well, like I just said, probably Mercedes Lewis. From just a fan's perspective of, especially like being out here in LA with the Chargers, you would want to see Antonio Gates, a good guy, a solid football player, one of the best tight ends in the history of the game. You would want to see him go to a team who has a chance to potentially win a ring. Yeah. You always want to see that for guys like him.
You know what
but
else?
Really, from the X's and O's perspective, I would say Mercedes Lewis is a better option.
You know what else? I think a team that will really try to help him out or do something. I think he can go to Dallas Cowboys. They lost Jason Witten.
Yeah, segue into that one with Witten. He's going to retire.
Yeah,
if he hasn't officially yet, it's coming soon.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's a team who could definitely use. Well, it's interesting because like Dallas needs to get young.
Yeah, it's true.
They need to get young, and although I think Mercedes could help them, I don't know if he's necessarily the puzzle that gets them to where they want to go as far as winning playoff games. Especially in a division now, we got to compete against Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
And with Saquon Barkley with the New York Giants now and his rookie year coming up, I don't know if they necessarily want to sign older guys. I don't know if the Dallas Cowboys want to be in the business of that at this juncture.
That's the tough thing about it. That's why I was thinking, like, I'm honestly feel, you know, when we were talking about this segment before Antonio Gates, I really think this is a time for him to just hang it up, to be honest with you. I would hate to say it, but I think it, you know, like he was already, you know, to me when he look, there's players that like, okay, there's James Harrison, right? James Harrison's old, right? But when he's out there, he's still getting like 2-3 tackles a game, 2 sacks, a sack a game, and this and that, right?
Yeah, not to mention he's got a crazy workout regimen.
Yeah, okay.
That very few
But
undertake.
then you look at Antonio Gates. When I watched Antonio Gates play, man, he just looked old.
Yeah, it's slow off the ball.
Yeah.
Very, very slow.
Fragile in his position. It was just like, dude, it's time to hang it up. Like, and that's what I mean. And I think that's what it, to me, that's what I'm saying is when I look at him, like Mercedes Lewis, when I look at him, I was like, okay, he can still get off the ball. He can still get you some yards and this and that, play a couple touches and this and that. But Antonio Gates is 38 years old, man, and like probably going 39 this year. I mean, of course, it's going to upcoming
He's going to be 38 next month.
Oh, wow. See, and that's what I'm saying. I just think it's time for him to, like, yo, there comes a time when your body's just like, we should hang it up.
It's got to be the perfect landing spot for him. That's why I think the Saints would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He plays 8 games in a dome. It's an offense that's already ready to win now. He wouldn't be the focal point. He would just be an addition. Play him in the red zone. He needs to go to a situation like that where there's already a lot of pieces around him. I think that would be a very good spot. New England, I don't think that would happen just because, as we all know, a complicated playbook there. And I don't know if he would be willing to play at that high of a level as they try and get out of their players up there in Foxborough. I'm not saying that it's not like that everywhere, but we know it's a little bit different. It's on a whole nother level up there.
Yeah.
So the Saints would make sense to me personally. There's some other teams if we were to go around as well that I think would make sense as well. Minnesota is ready to win now.
Yes.
That's a team who's got a lot of talent. He could easily be inserted in there. Again, another dome team who plays inside. Those type of situations would work well for him. Philadelphia, yeah, that's another one. He could potentially go to Philly, and I could see it working out there. They could, that would be mutually beneficial to both sides, actually. But I think this would be it. It's a 1-year deal, veteran minimum, perfect landing spot, and I think that would be it. He would ride off into the sunset after that, but maybe it doesn't even come to that.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't. But I don't know. We'll see some. I think in the next couple of weeks, we'll try. I think they'll start to figure. I think that's when you start to come to. Yes, he wants to play right now, but I think in the next couple of weeks, he's probably going to reflect on this and be like, maybe I should hang it up. I mean, it is hard to give up something you've been doing all your life, and but
we all know it's not easy.
When you made so much money, man, it's just like it's time to, it's like now let's invest in doing something else.
And I'm not even aware of his personal family situation.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's got kids.
He's got a great kid. He has a great family. I've actually done an interview with his wife before. He's got a great family, man.
Okay,
So
there you go.
Yeah, I am. It's going to be impressive to see. Like I really do think it's going to be a good for him. Whatever he does is going to be great for him and his family. So I hope that he can figure something out. Hopefully he can land. If he can do another year, then great. But teams landing spots, I get you hit on there. I think the Saints are probably the team to go to.
What do we think about Jason Witten hanging him up? Maybe going into Monday Night Football as an analyst.
Man.
Can you see him as an analyst? I don't really see him as a entertaining type of guy.
I don't.
Like when I think of Jason Witten, I think of hard-nosed, hard, old-school football player.
I'll tell you, what is it about these guys who come from Dallas, all of a sudden they get jobs for being broadcasters and stuff like that? What is going on?
That's the Jerry Jones connection.
Jerry Jones have connected to this? I mean, Tony Romo has done a fantastic job, I might add.
He's been good. Fantastic, maybe a little generous.
Okay, I'm gonna say the reason why
he was good. He was good, and he became
Deion Sanders checked him. Deion Sanders checked it.
Right. Well, yeah, we all know who won that one. Ultimately, that wasn't even a competition.
That wasn't even a competition.
Not even close. But no, in all honesty, he was okay at the beginning of last year. I think he improved and he became good. I don't think he's fantastic by any stretch. Honestly, I think Phil Simms was better in that role. But that's just me. I know Phil Simms was not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
And some people prefer Tony Romo. But to me, he was good. He was good, and he might grow on me here in 2018. I may say he improved even more so.
Yeah. Well, look, I think Jason Witten, look, if he gets that opportunity, great. We've talked to several athletes on this show. We have Jerry Porter on this show.
Yes.
And there's several athletes out there. I know, like Antonio Cromartie. A lot of players have gone. I have a friend right now who's doing it. He used to play for the Raiders, and he played for the 49ers and the Eagles. And he's retired now. His name is Jose Leo Hansen, and he was a cornerback for the Eagles at one point in time, starting cornerback. He's now doing the broadcasting camp. Same thing. Those guys go. Everybody's trying to get to that point, but that competition is like Jason Witten's already been offered a job, and he hasn't even had no type of coaching.
It's like where's the
broadcasting coaching or
where's
anything?
The prerequisite requirements and the skills.
What the hell?
It's here's the thing, and this is a big pet peeve of mine, especially when we get into like the postseason, like Major League Baseball or the NBA. Not so much in the NBA, but baseball especially last postseason.
Yeah.
When you've got like 5 or 6 guys being analysts at the desk, too many cooks in the kitchen. At most, we only need 3, maybe 4 at tops. But you don't need 5, 6 guys.
Yeah.
I'm just not a big proponent in handing those jobs to all these former guys who used to play. It's just overkill sometimes.
Yeah.
Now, in some cases, that we all know that there are some really good former athletes who've turned into be really good sports broadcasters.
Randy Moss, I might add.
Color analysts. Randy does a great job. Love his work on ESPN.
Randy Moss has done a great job.
Yep. Ray Lewis, to me, is wildly entertaining. I've said it for years. I love watching him.
Shannon Sharp, for some reason, he's got his own show now.
Skipping Shannon.
Shannon Sharp, you can go there. And, I mean, we can go down the list of athletes who just are well-spoken athletes that do a great job. So, I just want to see those guys who go to those broadcasting camps get their shot, get their opportunities. They just guy fresh coming off of retirement, already getting a contract. I'm like, man, that's some Dallas. Like, what is going on? Like, that's a Dallas connection right there.
I guess it's the Jerry Jones effect.
That's what I'm saying. Antonio Gates, go play for Dallas, because then maybe
sets
you'll
himself up
get
for his
yourself
next
a career.
I like the thinking, Keith.
Yes.
I like the thinking. It makes a lot of sense. I don't see him in Dallas. I don't think he's a cowboy. I can't really picture the star on his helmet.
Really? I can.
Really? I don't know. Too much drama for him. He's a non-drama kind of a player and kind of a guy.
Yeah.
From what we've witnessed throughout his entire career. So it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting to follow him and see if he maybe, even if it's like he works out for a team in training camp during the offseason here. Even that'll be a fun storyline to follow if it comes to that, even if he doesn't make a roster in the fall. It'll be fun to watch. But this Jason Witten thing, maybe going to Monday Night Football, it doesn't do a lot for me. Honestly,
it doesn't.
I mean, unless I'm missing something and maybe he blows us away, I just haven't seen much. Phenomenal football player, borderline Hall of Famer. Close.
Yeah.
It's close. I don't know if I don't think you can pencil him into Canton, but it's close. But maybe he has this career in broadcasting. Time will tell, but I just don't see it. To me, he's just like this hard-nosed football guy. He should be a coach. I can see him being a coach.
Yeah. I can too. That's what James Harrison's doing. He decided to retire so he can coach his kids in football. And, and that's a great thing to do. A lot of these guys are, some of these guys are doing that, though, if you start to know. A lot of them are going into coaching and things like that. So, I like to see that. I would love to see that happen. So, we'll see.
I want to go through here. We talked a little bit last week on Thursday during the NFL draft.
I was going to say something about the NFL. And
Go ahead.
Did you hear the thing about Donald Penn? You didn't.
Donald Penn?
I
didn't hear this.
The Raiders offensive lineman.
Right
now. You didn't hear the story that went out about him his.
Well, hold up. Did they were trying to cut him?
No. Well, so Donald had got into a domestic violence dispute with his wife.
Oh, yes, I did hear about this.
And then he came out and said that they had a joint thing, and came out and said, and I'm close to Donald.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm close to Donald Penn. I know.
So you have a good pulse in this story.
Yes. So, and that's why I bring it up, because here he is as a guy, he's about to get, I think he just signed a 2017 contract extension for $21 million.
Yeah, it's a good chunk of change. I saw that.
And so, I talked to Donald about 2 days ago, and there's a story that broke out on TMZ. It said he had a domestic violence dispute, and him and his wife had got into an argument, and then they came out and said, their rep had basically came out and said that it wasn't a domestic violence dispute, it was an argument that they were having with each other. But he did not hit anybody, or he did not hit her or anything like that. So I spoke to Donald, and Donald was a little upset about it and things. And I told him that, I said, well, it's kind of tough when, it's tough when he's just like, I guess he's frustrated about the situation, because he's like, man, here it is, football season. They got some linemen coming in and this and that and other players, and he's got this contract extension because it really affects his contract. And, it affects sponsorship when you put that as a domestic violence dispute on. And he's like, I never hit my wife, or I've never done that before. And to see that on a headline on TMZ that's had a domestic violence dispute, that's not me. That's not who I am. Well, I'm here to say Donald is not that person. He would never, number one, hit his wife. But, people go through arguments. It's fortunate they're going through a divorce right now. Him and his wife are going through a divorce. But he does so much in the community for kids and things like that. He would never hit the mother of his child. He would never do that. He is focused on his football and things like that. And it's just interesting to see. He's just like, man, this is this is hurting my career because I don't want that stamp on, after you see like that happened with the Ray Rice situation a while ago. That really affects a lot of these guys.
Especially now in a day and age where a lot of times it's guilty before being proved innocent.
Yeah. And it does.
In the social media age.
And he doesn't want his team to, like, here you go with a new coach, new team. They're excited about the season coming up. They got some great draft picks that we have talked about earlier. They got some great players, the addition of Martavius Bryant. You talked to him on the phone, he is very excited about this season. He's just like, this is the year.
So.
This is the year that we can do it. This is the year, and then this falls on his lap. And it's just like, here goes another burden. And the reason I bring this up is because this is one thing. It's just to remind players out there that, what you do off the field still affects what you do on the field and still affects your team. Because here you got a guy who, yes, his argument, something that is not even pertaining to sports has affected his team in a way where possible sponsorships we can release he can lose, or also he just don't want to be a distraction to the team or wants this to be a distraction, because that's the kind of stuff that happens. You don't know if a suspension is coming out of this. So in due time would tell, and then on him it's just stressful on his family. So it's just like, I just hope that players learn a lesson this year and just know that what you do off the field does affect your teammate. It does affect your team. And so with the contract extension he's getting, hopefully it doesn't affect. He can still, he's excited about mentoring these offensive linemen he's had, because he said, I'm at the back end of my career.
Especially with their first round pick out of UCLA.
They're very excited about him. So that's the thing. It's just like he wants to be able to mentor those guys, and he has a chance to do it. And hopefully, he said this. I think this could be the year that we can go all the way. So I'm just hoping for the best for Donald. Man.
Yeah, hopefully that situation works itself out. From listening to you here, Keith, and your insights on the story and of the situation, it sounds like that it will work itself out for the better, ultimately. And hopefully it gets resolved here before training camp starts in July. And they can get it really moving in the right direction. But he should be excited about the Raiders in 2018. Look, if Derek Carr can stay healthy and he has a full recovery from his back issues from last year,
they could be a great team.
They could be a great team. And I really believe, Stu, that John Gruden is a modern-day NFL coach who can absolutely coach in 2018. I know he's taken some criticism from certain outlets that the game has passed him by. He's not the same guy he used to be. He hasn't coached in 10 years. We all know that. But he has stayed up with the game, unlike any other former coach who came back into the game years later. With what he did on ESPN, doing color for Monday Night Football all those years, he really has stayed as close to the game as he possibly could. And I really, really think that this is the thing that they could be missing there, especially culture. Culture was the biggest thing. Getting rid of that nonsense with fighting players during the games and craziness like that.
That's another thing. What does John Gruden do in this situation? Because he's a disciplinary coach. He's the type of guy.
Oh, he cuts him.
He'll cut you.
Yep.
And the thing is but you got to also remember this. John Gruden has played with Coach Donald Penn before when he was at Tampa Bay.
That's true.
So they do have a history together, a relationship together. So it's going to just be interesting. I think that was another thing that was affected. Is like Donald wants to stay. He likes where he's at. He's in Oakland. He's close to home in L.A. And it's just like this is a place where he wants to stay. And I get it. I totally get it. And John Gruden's this hard-nosed coach. And John Gruden as a coach doesn't want that type of baggage on his team. I think all those players. Who would you like to see on hard?
The Oakland Raiders.
This year.
That's what I said. I think it would be phenomenal if they had. We'll see. We know the division is so improved.
It is, but you know what, Brad? It's like
we'll see.
Never
the division.
know.
Your comparison there to the dot teams can be good or bad one calendar year to the next. I'll say this about football. Obviously, it's a lot different. And it's Dodgers and baseball, comparing that to the NFL and how to the playoffs.
To being a favorite.
Oh, that's true. You don't know. You don't. And now you can make the case that they put the players and coaches in the right spot. You got the fresh new head coach. They had the quarterback coming back for year 2.
Playoffs
62-16, and in the NFL, you're either improving, adding new guys, or it's not the case at all. You're either going the opposite way. So the win now mentality, there's a lot more pressure in the NFL to do that than there is in Major League Baseball, where you have a longer leash, especially if you're a manager. Look at Mike Scioscia with the Angels.
True.
We've talked about him a lot. He's won a World Series, but that was before iPhones were a thing.
It's true.
So you just don't know. That speaks for itself.
You know, and also the linemen they picked up, they have a great chance. And I know they're excited. I know their players and teams are exciting. And hopefully that the Donald Penn situation doesn't have a fallback on the team. You know, he's still a great addition to the team.